Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things, where we flying by Pointless Statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 are the frozen waterfalls in the Azure Span, and I don't know why I never thought to look up frozen waterfalls before, because there are some really cool looking frozen waterfalls if you just type that into Google, but there's a few reasons I put this at number 10. Number 1 is it's not an actual flowing waterfall, so I was like, I should probably put all the other waterfalls higher on the list. I mean, you could argue this is a pointless top 10, so this should be number 1 because it's the only waterfall that isn't actually falling on this list. I mean, technically it's falling, it's just it's all frozen, but you know what I mean. But this next point kind of also relates to that, which is I always try to put something cool at number 10. Like, even though it's supposed to be the worst item on the list, it's also the first item that everybody's going to see. I think I mentioned this in a previous top 10, but I always try to pick something at least kind of cool or you know, kind of interesting where you see it and you're like, yeah, maybe I will watch the rest of this video instead of just clicking off of it. And I think these frozen waterfalls are perfect for that. I just love how they look with all the icicles hanging down and you can see where the water was flowing and then it froze and there's caves and stuff people have even made homes out of. Like, it's just really cool. And so that's why the Azure Span frozen waterfalls are number 10. 9. Number 9 are the waterfalls in Nagrand, specifically the waterfalls in the Outland Classic Nagrand, not the new Draenor Nagrand, because that one doesn't have the cool floating islands that have the waterfalls just, I don't know where the water's coming from, but they're just floating off the island and down below. And Nagrand does have normal waterfalls all over that are actually on the land, but I think the floating waterfalls are probably one of the staples of the zone. Like, when you would come here back in the day and you would look up and see that, it just gave the zone this sense of magic. You know what I mean? Because you're like, that's not supposed to be there. I don't know how that's happening. I don't know why it's happening, but it is happening, and that's pretty cool. Also, you might be thinking, Crendor, didn't you make a pointless top 10 waterfalls before? And I did, but it was 10 years ago, and it was very much different from the current pointless top 10 format. And it's kind of funny, because in that video, I put the Nagrand waterfalls at number 1, so I don't know if my tastes have just changed as I've gotten older. That was 10 years ago. Or maybe there's just been so many new waterfalls with all the different expansions, or I just have a different appreciation of certain waterfalls and what I'm looking for. But it is pretty cool to look back and think of how my tastes and opinions have changed over the years. And so that's why the Nagrand waterfalls are now number 9. 8. Number 8 are the waterfalls in Suramar, specifically the ones that are adjacent to high mountains. So high mountains all the way up there, and then all the snow is melting, and it's just all flooding down the mountain. It's all just flowing, making these waterfalls, and I just love the way it looks because there's so many waterfalls. It reminds me of Winter Spring, and there used to be that one area in Winter Spring, well, there still is, but there's like one big waterfall that would flow down into Azshara from Winter Spring. But this feels like that times 100. Like, there's so many waterfalls, and some of them are flowing down into little rivers that go through the land. Some are flowing down into like buildings that pour the water out. There's just so many cool different waterfalls here. Also, shout out to these Ettins that are just throwing boulders off the side of the mountain, I guess trying to hit people down below, but the boulders just crash like just a few feet below where they are. There's like, oh, and then the boulders just like, crash. Like, they probably think it's going down all the way. Maybe they can't see that far down. They're like, yeah, we're getting them. But either way, these waterfalls are great, and that's why the Suramar waterfalls are number 8. 7. Number 7 is the waterfall in Elwyn Forest. It's kind of hidden away up in the mountains. It's actually behind Stormwind City and then in the back of Elwyn, and it kind of meets together up in the mountains, and then you've got Blackrock Mountain actually in the background. And this is actually a really cool waterfall. You have multiple streams of water kind of conjoining and twisting together, and they're all pouring over the rocks, and you have really cool trees and mountains and various types of rocks here. It's just, it looks really neat, especially for an older waterfall. And you've actually got the gnome who has sheep as well as a robo sheep over here, and then down below next to the waterfall you've got the people camping out nearby. It's just a nice relaxing spot tucked away in the mountains. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about how waterfalls actually form, because I always enjoy learning some stuff when I make these types of videos. So waterfalls can be formed in several ways, according to Wikipedia, but the most common method of formation is that a river courses over a top layer of resistant bedrock before falling onto softer rock, which erodes faster, leading to an increasingly high fall. So that's pretty cool, and that's why the Elwyn Forest waterfall is number 7. 6. Number 6 are the waterfalls in Hallowfall, and I specifically chose these ones over here, which are these waterfalls that lead to the Hungering Pool, which is a large sinkhole that all the rivers flow into in central Hallowfall. In fact, this is where the entrance to the Sinkhole Delve is located at, all the way at the bottom. But one of the reasons I put this on the list is it feels like a more modernized, intense version of the old Stranglethorn whirlpool sinkhole that the Cataclysm caused. And so, you know, shout out to that one. I think there's also one in Darkshore, but I always remember the Stranglethorn one. But either way, this one just feels so much more modern, like I said. But I don't say that to shade the other waterfall whirlpool things, because I think those are really cool. But I think since Dragonflight, with the massive zone expansions, they're able to create such massive, cooler things, and I think this is a product of that, right? You have so many different waterfalls, so many different rivers, and they're all just conjoining into this massive sinkhole that they've literally made a delve out of. So I just think it's really cool. I think it looks great, and that's why the Hallowfall waterfalls are number 6. 5. Number 5 are the Zandalar waterfalls, and there's so many cool waterfalls in Zandalar. Like, there's waterfalls up in the mountains, there's waterfalls that are going through temples and ancient structures, there's waterfalls with dinosaurs drinking water from them, there's waterfalls with rainbows, like, there's waterfalls all over the place in this zone. And I think that's what I like most about the waterfalls in Zandalar, is the wide variety of waterfalls. And I actually learned while researching online that there's numerous types of waterfalls, but some of the most common ones are listed here in this chart that I found. You have the block waterfall, the plunge, the horsetail, the fan, the tier, the punch bowl, and the segment. And another cool waterfall fact is that waterfalls are essential to river health, because waterfalls play a crucial role in river ecosystems by adding oxygen to the water. And as water crashes down, it mixes with air, increasing oxygen levels that are vital for aquatic life. And this process, called aeration, helps support diverse fish populations and other aquatic organisms. So there we go, waterfalls are pretty awesome. And that's why the Zandalar waterfalls are number 5. 4. Number 4, the waterfalls located at Ice Mist Village, which is located in Dragonblight on the edge of Lake Wintergrasp. And I just love the way these waterfalls look. It looks like it's supposed to be one big waterfall spilling over from Lake Wintergrasp, but then each part is kind of segmented by these big stone pillars of rock. Actually, that sounds kind of redundant. Stone pillars of rock. It's just they're big rock pillars. I don't know. In fact, one of my favorite parts about this waterfall is this little piece of rock that kind of juts out from the middle of it, and you can see here, it almost looks like a water slide. Like the waterfall just naturally created a water slide. I don't know, it looks cool. In fact, one of the only downsides to this waterfall is it is under control of the Nerubians. So there's just a bunch of Nerubians all over. There's the one Nerubian guy like, "We will be victorious," and they're all shouting. And then there's a bunch of dead, I believe, Tonka or Taran. It does say here that the village was originally a Ice Mist Taran outpost, but it's unclear how long ago that was. And at some point it became the capital of the Tonka, with it also being referred to as the greatest of the Tonka villages, decorated with tusks and skulls of mammoths. And so sure, now it seems to be a war zone, but it's still got a really cool waterfall, and that's why the Ice Mist Village waterfall is number 4. 3. Number 3 are the Serenity Falls, which are located in the Jade Forest in Mist of Pandaria. And I feel like this waterfall truly does earn its name of Serenity Falls, because it has this very serene feel to it. It almost even feels like the water is flowing in a very calming way compared to some of the other waterfalls we've seen. I don't know if that's just a placebo mental thing happening, or if it actually is flowing, you know, much more calmly. Like, if you zoom in, it actually does look like it's flowing much slower than a normal waterfall. Also, I want to add one more waterfall fact, because I actually think it's really cool. So it says here, waterfalls create their own weather. The constant motion of falling water creates distinctive microclimates around waterfalls. As water plummets, it generates mist and affects local air pressure, often resulting in unique weather patterns distinct from the surrounding area. These microclimates can support specialized plant communities and create conditions for rare species to thrive. Many waterfall environments host plants typically found in much different climate zones, thanks to the constant moisture and unique air circulation patterns. So there we go, that's really cool, and so are these waterfalls, and that's why the Serenity Falls are number 3. 2. Number 2 are the waterfalls in Bastion, and I love these waterfalls because, kind of like the Serenity Falls, they feel a bit slower, a little more calm, but they all have this kind of glittery sparkle effect to the water, and I don't know what causes that. I don't know if this is even water. This might just be some sort of spiritual Shadowlands liquid. I don't know what it is, but it's the equivalent of water in Shadowlands. I'm just going to say that, so it is technically waterfalls and not, you know, spiritual Shadowlands liquid falls. But yeah, it looks really cool. And one of my favorite parts about it is there's so many different waterfalls that are flowing off of the big island continent of Bastion. And you can just see, I don't know what's below here, but it's all just flowing off the sides, and I just love the way that looks. And so once again, even though Shadowlands was one of the least enjoyed expansions by many, it still had so many cool things art-wise, including the Bastion Waterfalls. And so that's why the Bastion Waterfalls are number 2. And number 1 are the Earthsong Falls, and the Earthsong Falls are waterfalls located inside of the dungeon Maradon. And first off, I love all the little wildlife, the turtles and the frogs walking around here. I think that's great. They're just having a good time living in the Earthsong Falls. But I think what's most impressive about these waterfalls is that these were added in classic World of Warcraft, and I think these waterfalls actually hold up today. Like, they've got a very calming effect. There's nature and green and big rocks all around, and then you have like the various layers of waterfalls. There's like the top waterfalls going to the next layer of waterfalls, going to the other layer of waterfalls, and then there's the big pool all beneath it. It's really cool, especially for a dungeon where you're supposed to be inside and then you go here and it's like you're just outside. And on top of all that, these are definitely one of the most well-known waterfalls in all of World of Warcraft, being added in patch 1.2 back in December 18th, 2004. And so for all those reasons, that's why the Earthsong Falls are number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you can go check out some other water-related ones. We had water wheels just the other week, and then a while ago we had water wells. You go check both of those out. Also, like, comment, subscribe, and consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/crendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See you.